Welcome back to, or welcome to, Sidekick COO. I'm Sandra B., your Sidekick COO, and today we're going to be answering the question, how on earth do I get out of my own way so that my support can handle things without me trying to take over? So this is a great question, and it's definitely something that a lot of people struggle with when they bring people into their team or onto their team to help them out, especially if you've been burnt before, especially if you don't really know what the person is capable of, and especially if you just have a hard time trusting people, or if you really think that your way is the only way. There's lots of things that lead to this, and if you're a micromanager and things like that. So it's definitely something that you do need to address, because you really need to be able to trust the person you've hired to do the work without you getting involved. So one of the things that you can do to help that situation is to, one, get really clear on expectations, especially when you're outsourcing to somebody, when this is a subcontractor or a contractor coming in and doing the work for you rather than an employee. So somebody who has the autonomy to work whenever they want rather than somebody who works a schedule that you set. Getting clear on those expectations is really going to be key here, because if you assign a task and you have no idea when they're going to get back to you about it, when it's going to get done and all of that, it can be a little frustrating. So I know that one of my clients really struggled with this when we first got started. I did set the expectation with them as to how quickly I can turn things around and when they'll hear back from me and all of that stuff. And what kept happening is they would assign me a task, say assign me a task Friday afternoon. I wouldn't see that until Monday morning. And in the meantime, between Friday afternoon and Monday morning, they had just gone ahead and done the work anyway because they didn't want to wait. One, getting clear on those expectations so that you know when you're going to hear back from them, how quickly they're going to turn things around, when they're available, when they're going to actually be online available to talk to, things like that. And being okay with those expectations, that's going to be kind of step one. It's really hard to just let somebody do the work when you don't know that they've actually got the task and that they're actually going to do the work. So have a set time frame for, like, okay, I assign a task. Here is how those tasks get assigned. For one, where does that information go? How does that information get to them? Two, some sort of acceptance on their end. So some sort of, yep, I got it. I'll take care of it, or I don't have any questions or whatever, especially if you're not meeting on a regular basis. If they could just say, do a thumbs up, anything to acknowledge that they saw that task. And then once they have that task, they should also be looking at whatever due date you assigned, what tasks, what all is involved, and making sure that they're going to be able to meet that due date and let you know in advance if there's going to be any problems. Having all that set up as your expectations will really help that whole process go a lot smoother. The other thing you can do to kind of help you let go a little bit more is to delegate outcomes rather than tasks. Just getting clear with somebody as to what you expect the outcome to be of the work they're going to be doing with you, rather than delegating every single task to them. So what that might look like, maybe you have a project management tool, which you really should have, put all of your tasks in there, assign it to them, and then you might say, okay, so-and-so, you're going to be dealing with my customer service inbox. My expectation is that everybody gets responded to within 24 hours. Here is our brand voice guide, so you know how to answer people, and here's where we keep our email templates for questions that we've had. Here's an FAQ for you. So that kind of thing, where you're giving them that overarching information rather than saying, hey, can you go in and answer so-and-so? She asked this, here's how to respond. Hey, here, can you answer so-and-so? Here's how to respond. Same with putting an email out. If somebody's going to help you with loading emails, you can say, the outcome is that I'm going to be sending an email out every Tuesday, and I want them going out at 9 a.m. Eastern to my entire list. If they know that that's the outcome, then they can help you build a process for making sure that you have that email written, making sure that they don't have any questions in advance, making sure any images that need to be done are ready, and making sure that it's loaded and checked and all that stuff. And then adding to your outcome, the thing I missed was that you expect that it's going to be going out with all the merge tags correct. Any information that needed to be filled in is correct. All of the information is correct. No spelling mistakes, all of that stuff. So whatever your outcome is, assign that to them and then just give them the tools needed to produce that outcome. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you're the type of person who really just gets your hands in things and you have a hard time letting go, you really are that micromanager, you like standing behind people watching them type, or if somebody is working in your inbox, you have to be in there and double checking everything they've sent. I want you to really think about what it is that you're doing in the grand scheme of things. So one, if you've assigned a task to somebody for, say, your customer service inbox, and then you insist on, even a year later, double checking every single email that they've sent, you have a problem. And not that you specifically have a problem, but I mean, like, you have a problem in your business. You should be trusting that person to do the job. So you need to ask yourself why you're doing that. Are you doing that because you don't trust that person to do the job well? Or are you trying to gather some information that you're not getting in another way? Or are you just really don't trust people? Being unsure if somebody's going to do a good job, that could be because they haven't done a good job and you just haven't let them go yet. So that's one thing. Or if you just have trust issues that you just can't seem to let go of, that's another thing. I want you to really think about why it is that you're constantly doing that. Because when you do that, you're actually, one, telling that person, regardless of why you're doing it, you're showing that person that you don't trust them. That's the feeling that they get. Also, you're making it harder for them to do their job. Nobody likes to do work while they're being watched, and nobody wants to have to second guess everything they're doing. So when somebody is doing work and they know, oh my gosh, so-and-so is going to be looking at this, I bet it is so much harder to do your job if you think that somebody is watching you. So you're really creating a stressful situation for that person, and you're making it very difficult for them to do the job well. You're also saying no to things. So that time that you're using to double check their work, that means you're saying no to something else in your life. You're saying no to something else in your business or something else in your life because you don't have the time to do it because you have to double check all of this person's work. If the reason you're double checking somebody's work is because the work is actually poor quality, they do make errors all the time, and it's a problem, nothing seems to get them to do it well, then you need to get rid of that person. That person shouldn't be on your team. That's it. If you find that feedback you're giving them is, well, I wouldn't have said that word exactly, or I would have said it like this, when really it doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't really change the tone. I'm speaking about customer service in particular. If there's really no actual change to the outcome, then you're just micromanaging. You're not allowing the person to do their job. If you have somebody working in your business and they're doing customer service, all they need to know is the policies that are in place for certain situations and the general tone that you're going to be speaking in. And if there's anything specific things that you would never, ever, ever say, then they need those things at the beginning. You don't need to be looking at every single email and then correcting them on, well, you probably should have said all the best rather than talk to you later. It doesn't really affect the outcome. It's not worth mentioning. Just let them serve your clients. You're paying this person for their expertise, one would imagine. So let them implement their expertise. Same with if you hire somebody to do web design, or if you hire somebody to do copywriting, or if you hire somebody to fix your sink. Let them do their job and you just step back, okay? Really think about why you're double checking. And then if it's that you're missing some information, you're trying to gather some information that you're not getting. So maybe just going back to the customer service example, maybe you're trying to figure out how many people are replying to your emails, or maybe you're trying to get an understanding of what people are interested in or whatnot. If that's the case, again, that's not something you should be doing. Just ask the person who's helping you to get that information for you. Say, hey, something I really would like to know on a regular basis is how many people are replying to my emails. So can we find a way for you to give me that information on a regular basis in some sort of report? Would be really lovely. So it's really important for you to understand what you're getting from doing that extra oversight, and also what you might be losing and what you might be giving up from spending time doing that extra oversight. And then the last way I'd say for getting over like just being able to let the person you hire do the work, in addition to like setting your clear expectations, setting a clear outcome, and understanding the potential gain or loss from micromanaging them or seeing their work, is to actually just have a structured check-in. So you want to be checking in with your team on a regular basis. I would say at the very least, you should be checking in with your team weekly. Oh my gosh, not monthly, weekly. You should be checking in with them weekly. If you're just starting out with somebody brand new, you should be checking in with them daily, and you should be double checking their work on a regular basis, like daily, because you want to see where they're struggling, where the errors are, so that you can then correct them and see if they improve. When somebody first comes on your team, it does take a little while for them to onboard and for them to understand what their role is and the full spectrum of their responsibilities and exactly how you like things done and exactly the timelines and things like that. It takes some time. And people, when they come into a role, everybody's different. So some people, they're going to come into the role and they're just going to do the work. They're not going to ask a lot of questions because they're looking stuff up. They're looking up the answers. They're figuring it out and they're just doing the job. Other people are going to ask the same question a few times until it drills into their head. Because the question comes up when they hit this one spot, you tell them the answer, and then 2 days later, they come across it again, but it is slightly different, just slightly different enough to make them think, I wonder if it's the same thing. And then they will ask again until they realize. So just know that people act differently, and somebody asking a question more than once is not necessarily a problem. Asking 5 times, that's a problem. If they ask the same question or roughly the same question 2 or 3 times, in the first 2 to 3 weeks, I would say that that's okay. If they ask the same question 5 or more times, that's a problem, and they're probably just not going to get it. Checking in with them on a regular basis and checking their work on a regular basis when they first start out, that is going to be key. You really want to be in it during those first 3 weeks or so, because that's when you're going to really know and get an understanding of whether this person is the right fit for you or not. Basically, in the first 3 months you're working with somebody, you'll know typically by the end of the 3 weeks, if you're checking in with them regularly, if they're going to be a good fit. Definitely by the end of 3 months, if you're checking in with them regularly. The old adage of hire slow, fire fast, that still stands. So if you're like, after 3 weeks, this person just isn't getting it, and you've spoken to them and you've talked to them about what's happening, you've corrected the issue, you've asked them what they think they can do to make sure it doesn't happen again, like get them involved in the process. That's the other thing I see people do is business owners will just go in and correct the issue and not say anything, or they'll say, oh, I saw that this was a problem, I went and corrected it. Stuff like that doesn't stick in people's minds. If you go in and correct everything, they're not learning, okay? So if you see an error, you go back to them and say, this is incorrect, can you please fix it? And you open that conversation up. If it happens a second time, you say, hey, this is the second time I've noticed this issue. How do you think we can make sure this doesn't happen again in the future? Is there some sort of process we can implement? What do you think? Get them involved in the solution. That will help make sure that they are invested and understand and can ask questions. Having them involved in the process of solving any problems that come up is really key to onboarding a new person successfully. So hopefully that helps you out in regards to making sure that you can actually delegate to people and not feel like you have to be in it all the time. Make sure you know what the expectations are and they know what the expectations are. Make sure that there's a process involved in all of that. Make sure that you're delegating those outcomes instead of just tasks, so they actually know like the grand scheme of things, like how everything's connected. You really want them to understand how A leads to B leads to C. So delegating those outcomes is going to help with that. Understanding what you're gaining or losing when you are double checking people's work constantly will help you be able to let go of that piece a little bit. And then also making sure you have those structured check-ins so that you know as quickly as possible whether somebody's going to be a fit or not. And you're opening up those conversations, making sure that they understand what's required of them and what is going really well and what is not going really well, and getting their buy-in and getting their input as to how to fix any issues that have arisen. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you have a good starting place now. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and why not share this with a friend, peer, colleague who needs to hear it. Don't forget, together we thrive. Have a great one.